Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network. Any opinions or comments made by any guest are their own, and they do not necessarily reflect any of the presenters or network's opinions.
Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the roads to the north. Hutchison River Parkway is still kept open for motor traffic. Avoid bridges to Long Island, hopelessly jammed. All communication with Jersey Shore closed 10 minutes ago. No more defenses. Our army is wiped out.
Good day to you. This is Sir Patrick Moore, and you're listening to the Paranormal UK radio network, the UK's biggest paranormal radio network, and this is Paranormal Dimensions with David Young.
Hello and welcome to the show, and thank you for that introduction, Sir Patrick Moore. I've got another interesting guest for you today, Mr. Tom Hackney. In actual fact, it should be Thomas N. Hackney, I should be saying, because that's how it's written on his book. His book is Alien Memos, Tidings, Quips and Warnings from Beyond the World. It's an updated edition of the E.T.I. Grail, which obviously was his first printing of the book. But before I get into the show properly like that, I want to actually address something. As you know, I do get people sending me messages, and something that came up just over the last couple of weeks. Somebody sent me something they were quite concerned about. It's to do with fraudulent equipment, basically. I think the best thing I can do is obviously I can't go too far into naming names or anything like that, but I think I ought to read out what the lady said. Her name is Claire Sines, and she has given me permission to read out some of this. Okay, Claire says, "Hi, I just wanted to ask you if you've had any bad experience with paranormal electronics, as I have. I went through PayPal, thank God. She ordered a piece of equipment at the end of August and still hadn't had it by December. Apparently she was constantly lied to too. Her husband ended up by going up to wherever it was that they got this equipment. Because she put in a bad review on Trustpilot, they said they were cancelling her order. And she said she wanted her order, so that she had to remove her review in order to get it. She says, I was so upset. Anyway, it turned up on the Christmas Eve. It didn't work, and the tablet was cracked. She says her husband was fuming, so went up there and put it on their doorstep and demanded a refund. She says she did finally get a refund, but was so rudely treated, and it was horrible, I would never deal with them again. She says, I'm part of a paranormal group in Wiltshire, and my husband has made myself and son a fully functional SLS. I'd sort of message back and say, I said, thanks Claire, sorry you had a bad experience, etc. I said I've not heard of this company before, company I'm not going to name. All I know is you have to be very wary of people selling paranormal equipment. There's not a lot of comeback if something's wrong with it or it doesn't work. I do know somebody out there who sells UFO detectors. Now, I mean, how the hell can you sell a UFO detector? You know, nobody even knows what a UFO is or how they work. So it's just crazy. So just be careful. And as everyone knows, in the UK we've had a lockdown period, and apparently this person who was selling the equipment, the police stopped his investigation on one night, there were 6 going out on an investigation breaching COVID government guidelines. They got fined. Okay, she says, well done to the police, as we've all had our investigations on hold due to COVID. Why should he do it? She said he even did it live on Facebook, so everyone could see it, so there you go. I can't really comment on that, but apparently other people have been complaining about this equipment. So all I can say to anyone out there, when you're buying paranormal equipment, please be careful where you're buying it. And buy it from someone where you know you've got some information and feedback from people that have had the equipment from them that they consider it works. I've had experience where you buy stuff on eBay or whatever, and it's just no good. You're just wasting your money. So be careful. Of course, once again, if anyone wants to get in touch with me for any reason, you can always email me. My email address is davidyoung2qn@yahoo.co.uk. That's davidyoung2qn@yahoo.co.uk. Right, so let's get into today's guest, Mr. Tom Hackney. As I mentioned, his book, Alien Memos, Tidings, Quips and Warnings from Beyond the World, updated edition of the ETI Growl. So we'll just welcome Thomas Hackney. Hello, Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure to welcome you to Paranormal Dimensions. It's the second show in this new season. It's show number 101, believe it or not. Last one was 100, obviously. I've got to tell you, Tom, your name's Tom Hackney. I was actually born in Hackney in London.
Well, not really. I was born in Salzburg, Austria. Right. My father was stationed there, and my mother lived in Austria with my father in the army.
Yeah.
And I just happened to be born in an army field hospital.
Oh, right. Now, so I think you misunderstood me. I was born in Hackney in London.
Well, you were you?
Yeah.
Hack by name, hack by nature, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. It's in the London's East End, I'm sure all the British people will know that, but Americans might not know. Yes, Hackney Hospital.
Hackney Hospital, yes. Hackney Coach, Hackney...
Yeah, there was the Hackney horse carriage, wasn't there?
Right, Hackney horse.
Which I presume was born in Hackney, I presume that, anyway. Another little interesting thing, you live in Savannah now. I understand you've just moved from West Virginia, was it?
Yes.
Yep, I've been to Savannah. It's a very nice town, very hot when I was there.
It's a hot town, yeah.
Yeah, it was sweltering, actually. It's one of those hot, sweaty towns, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but not in the winter.
No, well, it's probably nice in the winter.
Well, you know what the temperature is here now today?
No, I've got no idea.
70s. It's in the 70s.
Oh, that's just nice, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's just one of our nice British summer days, that is. Anyway, Tom, we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about you and your books and I think you've had a few articles published as well, haven't you?
Yes.
Let's talk about your book first of all. It's called Alien Memos, Tidings and Quips and Warnings from Beyond the World. And you'd like to tell us what that's all about? And
well, it's about what I believe to be extraterrestrial communications by semiotic means, which is to say through signals and that kind of thing. In this case, in the cases that I cite in my books, there are 3 basic meteoritic events. One of them is the most powerful energetic event ever seen by man, and that occurred in 1994, and it consisted of 21 comets that impacted Jupiter over 6 days.
Oh, really?
And that released about 50 million atom bombs worth of energy on Jupiter.
Wow.
Now, the curious thing about that is that comets have been thought by all human cultures pretty much to be messages from the gods, warnings of things to come, usually not very good things, but not necessarily catastrophic things, but something big. And 21 comets a few years before the 21st century struck me as kind of odd in that context, being that comets are messages from the gods, so to speak, and the number of comets happened to be 21. It's called Shoemaker-Levy 9. They were from a few hundred yards in diameter to about a mile in diameter, and they impacted Jupiter over 6 days in July 1994, one by one. Of course, scientists were ecstatic about it, but they never related that to any kind of communication. It was just a coincidence as far as they were concerned, but not me. I was actually expecting something like this to happen because a few months earlier, in 1992, NASA commenced a SETI project called the High Resolution Microwave Survey, which was about 1 million times more powerful than any previous SETI project, being that it was funded by the government, the federal government in Washington, and they had $100 million to look for intelligent signals in space, radio waves. And so they commenced it on October 12th, 1992, which was kind of odd because that was the 500th anniversary of Columbus's discovery of America. October 12th, 1992 was the quincentennial of Columbus's discovery of America on October 12th, 1492. So the search for extraterrestrials, which was about, as I mentioned, is the biggest SETI project ever, was commenced on a very curious date, in as much as Columbus did not really help the indigenous peoples they encountered in the New World. As a consequence, basically, the entire hemisphere was infected with all kinds of plagues and bloody massacres by the conquistadors. Many millions of people died in the New World from various causes. And so, although NASA celebrated that date by commencing their SETI project on that particular quincentennial, the extraterrestrials they were looking for might not have had a very good idea of what that was all about, because here we were looking for newer worlds to discover, right? So here we are looking for new worlds on October 12th, 1992. And what happened to the last new world in 1492? Well, it wasn't a very good thing, obviously, as history shows. But NASA is populated by scientists and engineers and so forth, and as far as they're concerned, history is irrelevant. So, the only thing that's important to scientists is science. History or linguistics or anything like that is irrelevant. So they were able to slip a retort in edgewise by making something happen in Peekskill, New York, 3 days prior to the commencement of the High Resolution Microwave Survey SETI project. And what that was, another meteoritic event, impact event, that was basically impossible. A 4 by 5 by 11 inch meteor impacted a 5 by 22 inch tail light, and obviously pulverized the taillight of the car, but leaving all the chrome surrounding it intact. So it was a very precise impact, and in peak skill. Now, it was the right taillight that was pulverized, not the left taillight, the right taillight. So visually, when you look at the photographs of that impact, you can see that the right taillight is destroyed, and the accent above the taillight, the little chrome slim chrome accent above the taillight, which forms its upper border, was bent over the numbers 933 on the license plate. So 933 just happens to be when Shoemaker Levy 9 was first discovered in March of 1993. Those 21 comets. So those 21 comets went on to impact Jupiter a year later, but it was discovered in March of 93, 933. And that was the signal on the license plate, 933, which was, those three numbers were overscored by the accent, chrome accent. And I thought it was all very curious. Of course, the hypothesis that NASA was investigating by commencing the SETI project was simple. ET exists. It's a simple hypothesis, and that's the basis of their research. ET exists, and that's the hypothesis. So the extraterrestrials who were watching this all happen responded by saying, right, because it was the right taillight that was pulverized, not the left, the right. And of course, the director of the project was the Ames Research Center in Mountain View, California. So it was more like, right, Ames, we exist. So it's affirming their hypothesis. But of course, this went way over their heads. They're not interested in phenomenological or semiotic forms of communication. They're only interested in science, or what you can reproduce or predict in the laboratory. So, and they're not interested in anything like that. But that was perfectly obvious to me, being just a layman. So I was expecting that something to happen in March of 93, which is what the license plate indicated, 933, March 1993. And when Shoemaker Levy 9 was discovered in March of 93, I knew that was the follow-up of the peak skill event. Peak skill, as in, here's a peak in our skill, So peak skill, right, Ames, because there was a prodigious display of marksmanship for a 5-inch wide meteor to impact a 5-inch wide taillight precisely, leaving the chrome around it basically intact, except for that sliver of chrome which was bent over the numbers 933 to emphasize those three numbers. The left side of the license plate read 4GF, and that refers to the fact that NASA was looking for spectral type stars of G and F, which are the only types of stars that life can exist around. So 4GF seems to suggest that there are 4 G and F type planets or stars that have planets around them that might be very hospitable, or might refer to their own planets, or different planets. But that's just speculation. But that's basically, in a nutshell, what happened between 1992 and 1994. So I put it all together and realized that this is how they communicate for obvious reasons. They communicate this way, so basically to control for scientists, number one. They don't want governments to be alerted. They don't, they're not going to be worried about scientists alerting the government. So it was just, people like us, you and me, with eyes in our head and a brain in our head, who could put it together. So it was able to communicate without causing any sort of, panic. And it's also being plausibly deniable, means that, they're able to retain the status quo. They don't want to, make things too crazy here by disclosing themselves completely. But then this is how the gods have always operated on Earth, for thousands of years. They never substantiate themselves or transubstantiate themselves before us. They offer signals, messages, perhaps various kinds, but they will not, suddenly just appear in the flesh in Yankee Stadium or something, before 50,000 people. They're just not going to do that. They never have, and they probably never will. These beings are probably on the order of 1 to 2 billion years older than we are, based on the age of the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. So,
well, that's hard to imagine. The civilization is billions of years in advance of us,
yes.
isn't it? It's just beyond our comprehension.
Yeah, well, this is child's play for them, whereas for us it's more like magic. But that's not surprising, since anything that science doesn't understand is magic.
I mean, even to think of a civilization a million years in advance of us is something hard to imagine.
Yes, it is. But 1 billion years is off the chart.
Definitely.
I mean, the age of half the stars in the Milky Way galaxy is 6.3 billion years. That's half of the stars. So our sun is 4.8 billion years old. Subtract 6.3 from 4.8, you get 1.5 as an average. 1.5 billion years older than us. That's enough to give you, some pause right there.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's making my head spin already.
Yeah. Now, my own direction lately, I've been looking into the origins of life and looking at the research that's been done, and it seems that, DNA could not have originated on Earth. The famous co-discoverer of DNA, Francis Crick, said as much, many times, saying that 600 million years or 1 billion years is not long enough for DNA to develop. And so he went on to theorize about panspermia to explain life. That is, DNA coming from other planets in the form of asteroids and comets and so forth, meteors that have little seeds of life in them. But research lately has rather somewhat conclusively, stated that that's really not possible. It's not likely that life was seeded by meteors. So what does that leave? I mean, if it didn't happen independently on Earth and it didn't come from other planets, other star systems or something, how did it arise in only 600 million years after the Earth was formed? Life, the DNA molecule is a gigantic molecule, and it's mathematically programmed, and it seems to me that we had help, that this planet had help in developing life by probably, either seeding DNA directly or making it almost proto-DNA, so that it would develop by itself. But the idea is that, the reason why the extraterrestrials do not disclose themselves to us or explain themselves is because they do not want us to know that we are their project. And it's better that we not know this because for whatever reason, but it may depress us.
I would think they would look on us as insect-like, wouldn't they, being that far advanced?
Yeah. But I mean, there seems to be a purpose there somewhere. Maybe we are, like an experiment of some sort that they're trying to create a life form, intelligent life form that can survive its own intelligence. The jury is very much still out on that on this planet because we have the capability to destroy all life, and the way things are going politically, and culturally and morally, it's a big question is whether we will survive much longer without blowing ourselves to hell. So they may have an interest in keeping us, alive, or at least preventing us from self-destruction. And perhaps that may explain some of the, UFO reconnaissance of, various military installations and nuclear installations around the globe. But I don't think the UFOs that people talk about, which have no explanation other than probably extraterrestrial in origin, probably are not the creators themselves. These are just, kind of like functionaries. They're just the arms and legs, the little robots that pilot some of the UFOs and that have a mission, that have an agenda to keep an eye on things here and make sure that we don't, destroy their experiment.
Yeah. Do you feel that our governments know about them?
See what?
Do you feel that our governments know about them?
Yes. I have let them know, and they have responded. The governments have responded. Well, my government has responded that they, accept what I'm saying and they take it seriously. They're not going to tell you anybody about it, but I'm okay with it as long as they know that they exist and that they're looking out for us. But the military or whoever it is that's follows me around occasionally when I go to D.C. I used to live about two hours from D.C. and I'd go in every once in a while to D.C. and do some shopping, and they weren't too subtle about following me. I mean, they wanted me to know they were following me. But so they take me seriously, and they take this whole theory rather seriously, because Shoemaker 9 was 50 million atom bombs. Okay, I mean that's not small potatoes.
What does it know?
I mean that's the biggest thing that's ever happened in human experience, in real time. So this is obviously something that would interest them. But what are they going to do about it? I mean, they just, at least they know, that they're there and that they have this capability. As far as what the alien agenda is, I mean, that's just speculation. I'll give you my speculation, but it may not necessarily be the correct one.
So after what you've just said there, when we hear of stories, things like the Roswell crash, and how do we put that into context with what you've just said?
Well, it's problematic. It could have been an alien ship that crashed. No, I don't think the inhabitants that were recovered, if they were recovered, are necessarily alien. They're probably just as I said, just sort of functionaries that they made. They're probably taking some of our DNA and making, parodies of us and letting us see that. But that's just DNA manipulation, probably.
So, I mean, really, I suppose what it could be is just that's another alien race that could have visited here that may not be anywhere near advanced as the ones you're talking about anyway, couldn't they?
That's right.
That's what you mean,
right.
Yeah.
Yes, the ones that we have, or that we've seen, or that have been reported, those are not the landlords, as Arthur C. Clarke refers to them.
Yeah, certainly. And so, do you think that our governments will never disclose anything about aliens?
Well, the governments have other problems. They have to keep their technology secret from enemies. They have to. They basically don't tell you anything. They don't have to. That's just the way they operate.
Yeah.
So anything and everything is classified. So they're not going to tell you anything. But this was sort of the landlord's way of slipping past, going to the side door of human awareness. SL9 and Peekskill were the result. There was another more recent impact that was also obviously created, and that was in 2013. And you may remember the Chelyabinsk asteroid that exploded over Chelyabinsk in Russia.
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
Well, there were actually two asteroids that day. Totally different asteroids. One 16 hours after the other. The first one occurred in the morning in Russia, and it exploded, maybe 17 miles above the Earth, and blew out all the windows in the city, destroyed a few buildings, and caused about 2,000 injuries of Russian people, mostly by the flying glass that just flew into their face and cut them all up. There were about 1,500 people that applied for medical assistance, probably leaving another 1,500 that did not apply. Well, so figure a couple thousand people were injured, which is unprecedented as far as any meteor events. And also unprecedented in the fact that there were two asteroids that day, totally different asteroids. The second one we knew about before. It was discovered in 2012. That's why it was called 2012 DA14. Discovered in February 2012. So we knew exactly when that one was going to appear and come very close to Earth. And that, of course it did. But 16 hours before that asteroid reached its minimum distance to Earth, this other asteroid came down and injured 2,000 Russians. but it did not kill anybody. There were no deaths from that event. And yet, there were scores of people who ended up in the hospital because of that, but no deaths. So it was probably, to my mind, precisely detonated at an altitude that would not cause deaths, but would send some people to the hospital. And I say this because, there were two asteroids. One just flew right by the Earth, the other one, which we didn't know about. So it's their way of saying, you better improve your reconnaissance of the solar system, because these things can come out of nowhere and really mess you up. Obviously, if that same asteroid had been detonated, say, a few thousand feet or a mile or two beneath where it did detonate, it could have easily killed 1 million people.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
So they're sort of, it's like they're giving us a grade, which is probably about a B, as far as lunar detection and defense.
Yeah, I'll say probably less. Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying you can do better. You can do better. So that is what they're doing. They are trying to improve their detection capabilities. So there is this sort of back and forth, this kind of communication going on, which not many people know about, but that's just the way they like it, or the way the government likes it. I don't care either way, but I obviously like to have more attention to this, but I'm fine with whatever.
So basically, your book, that's the basis of your book, is it?
Yes, that's what the book talks about in the first part. The second part is more historical and more of a critique of human civilization.
Oh, right. Yeah, I had to give it a bit of the tidings and quips and warnings.
Well,
and they're like jokes, aren't they, quips?
Well, let me give you a quip.
Yeah.
The car that was pulverized, the taillight was pulverized, the owner of that car just happened to turn 18 on October 12, 1992. So that being the age of majority, that was the 500th anniversary of America, which was America's 500th birthday, and it was her 18th birthday. And so they were able to find this girl who was 17 when the preschool event happened, but was going to be 18 in 3 days when the high-resolution microwave survey was commenced on the 500th anniversary of Columbus's discovery of America. So it's their way of saying, all grown up, are we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, of course, they're telling us that, we're basically adolescents as an civilization. And we have some growing up to do. And, but, if we're very careful, we can probably get through this very traumatic stage of our, puberty. And, as it is for most people, that age, when things become real, you're not a child anymore, you're an adult.
Have you any concepts of interdimensional beings, or is it or is it just an extraterrestrial world that we're talking about here?
Well, other dimensions. There obviously are. The fourth dimension is time, and very few people really take that into account. There are other dimensions probably that, other entities, perhaps spiritual entities, ghosts, all kinds of weird entities exist in, probably. This could be an intersection of universes also, is my theory, where our universe is not the only universe. Our universe was created probably by the landlords 14.5 billion years ago. And our universe was created, with hope that, something good would happen. And we humans are one of the results. So these other dimensions, other universes could easily intersect our universe, but they do so interdimensionally, intradimensionally. And so we can perceive them perhaps, but we cannot access them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's a different dimension.
Yeah. I mean, do we not get some gateways that open up occasionally either by design or accident?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Anything's possible. You can't.
Yeah. It's one of my. I do actually think. I mean, the more I've thought about things over the years, the more I've thought that we're seeing a lot more interdimensional occurrences with UFOs and things like ghosts and other paranormal experiences than extraterrestrial. And I think there's a big connection between all of that. It's just a personal feeling myself, but
it's logical.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
I mean, what's your feeling on ghosts and things, or have you never investigated anything like that?
It's not my area of interest.
No, the reason I asked, I just wondered if you could see any connections between the other types of paranormal occurrences, such as. I mean, when you think about it, if what you extraterrestrial beings that are not necessarily paranormal, are they? It's they're just something that's more advanced than us, and we don't know about it. So.
Well, they're parascientific. They may be normal, but they're not normal for science.
Yeah. Yeah, in our normality, that's right. You have written another book called the ETI Grail.
Yeah, Eti Grail.
Oh, Eti Grail. Is that
Yeah, that's basically. Well, I wrote that one first in 2011, but Chelyabinsk had not happened yet, so I had to write the second book to include Chelyabinsk.
Ah, right, okay.
It happened in Russia, because that was in my mind the third incident. There have been other things, minor things that I have experienced or imagined, which I might include, but I don't include them because I don't really have the facts. I don't have, any, standing to really, expound about.
Yeah. So you like to actually back up what you're saying with some sort of evidential. Yeah.
I mean, the Peekskill event yielded a 27.3 pound meteorite, which was put in the museum, American Museum of Natural History, and there was a tour all over the world where the meteorite and the car were exhibited together, showing the precision of the impact. I mean, the meteorite weighed 27.3 pounds, which I thought was kind of curious, in as much as 933 is basically an expression of 27.3, but that gets a little weird. But it was 27.3 pounds. That's an artifact that's solid. You can take to the bank. And obviously, the impacts on Jupiter were, the biggest things to happen, energetically speaking, in human history. So there's documentation for that, plenty for that. There's no question about these events. So that's what I focus on, rather than the highly phenomenological and subjective events that I've experienced. I mean, I'll give you an example recently of two events. As I was moving from West Virginia to Georgia, the first one occurred in the September, October of last year, and I had a house in the country, and in the middle of nowhere, with about 2 acres of meadow surrounded by 10 acres of trees, so mountains all around, and in my little earth-sheltered house. And it was about 7 o'clock in the evening, and there was a wind that came up. This really strange wind. It was just out of nowhere. And then there was lightning, dry lightning, no clouds, just lightning for several minutes. I said, what the hell is that? That's not supposed to happen. But then, after several minutes, I went outside, to look at this phenomenon of this wind and this lightning. And then, right over my house, there was this fireball. Just raced right over my house, pretty low. And so that was E.T.'s little pat on my back. I haven't told anybody about that. But right before I left, the second event, right before I left Georgia, West Virginia, this was in the news. This was worldwide news. The Arecibo antenna, the one in Puerto Rico?
No, I don't know that one.
Okay. Well, there's
it's news to me, that one.
A radio astrological dish. They study radio waves and stuff. It's the largest dish in the world. It's about 1,000 feet in diameter,
right,
which is about 3 football fields in diameter. Okay. There's this. The antenna is not the dish itself. The dish is just the background. The antenna is an extension of the, it juts up into space, about 100 feet or whatever, and that's where the real electronics are located. And this tower collapsed. It just fell apart. It just disintegrated. So that made the news. And the next day, basically, I was gone from West Virginia. West Virginia being the site of the National Radio Astronomy Observatory, which is another array of dishes which the government uses, which was also used in the High Resolution Microwave Survey, which is where SETI was born, actually, at that site, known as the NRAO, National Radio Astronomy Observatory, where Frank Drake came up with his formula for the formula for the probability of life in the galaxy, and the Drake's equation. That's where SETI was born. So, for the 9 years that I lived in West Virginia, I tried to crack open that facility, but was not able to. But anyway, so now here I am in Savannah, Georgia, and starting a whole new program.
It's a nice part of the country, the US. It's, West Virginia's beautiful anyway. I've been lucky enough to go to both of them. It's quite a difference, West Virginia to Savannah.
Yeah. West Virginia's high country and Savannah's low country.
Yeah. But at least you're by the sea there anyway.
Yeah. Lots of good restaurants.
Oh yeah. The gumbo shrimp and stuff like that. In fact, I think when I was there was actually quite a strong smell in the air of like shrimp, and that's what it seemed to be anyway. I don't know if there's a factory nearby.
It could be a factory too.
Yeah, I'll probably pass by one.
How long ago was that?
When I was in Savannah. Oh wow. It's probably a good 10 years ago now.
Okay. Well, I think they've shut down the factories. So
have they?
It smells a lot.
Oh right, so it was a well-known thing, was it?
What's that?
Was that a well-known thing then, that they sort of put this scent in the air?
Oh, you mean the?
Yeah, if you could hear it, I felt there was like a very shrimpy smell in the air when I was, and I thought maybe it was just that particular area that I was passing by. But
yeah, it could be.
It's still beautiful. It didn't take it away from it, but it was noticeable though. It's probably just the time of year that I was there, and it was very, very hot as well.
Yeah, it can get very hot in the summer.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, have you got a background in astronomy, Tom? Or have you studied astronomy a lot?
No.
You haven't?
No, not at all. My field is psychology, as far as academics.
Right.
So I mean, I'm aware of, for example, of one of the basic tenets of psychology, which is you don't want your subjects to know that you're experimenting on them. You want them to be false. I mean,
I think we know that pretty well for what's going on with a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that relates to the whole UFO phenomenon. It's why they keep their hands off. They do not communicate except by semiotic means, as we've described. But they don't want to contaminate the subject by our knowledge that they're watching us or experimenting on us, or that we are their creation. You remember Beyond the Fringe, the comedy group?
Yeah.
From way back?
Yeah.
But one of my favorite lines, from Beyond the Fringe, was when they talked about the Mindermasts.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. Mindermasts. They say, why do they call them the Mindermasts? Why not masterminds? Right?
Yeah.
Well, they don't do that because it depresses the men. So if you know that you're being, if you know that you're part of a investigation or experiment or whatever, you're not going to behave the same way as if you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So that knowledge they're trying to not keep us in the dark about, but inform us very, very gently. Because eventually we will come to know. But if it's done gradually, it won't depress us too much.
Yeah. Well, and I get the feeling that the knowledge that we could have is being suppressed to us anyway. by foods we eat and things, and I think there's a real, well, from what I understand, they're just trying to suppress our knowledge, because of our pineal gland, and and feeding us the things that they feed us, the sugars and things. It's supposed to suppress that knowledge. But I suppose that's a whole nother subject, really. But so do you want to tell us a bit about you yourself, Tom? Tell us what your background is. Psychology is quite interesting to me, anyway.
Well, I've had a rather motley past. I've done
haven't we all?
I've done public relations.
Right.
I've done, which is sort of how I feel about the extraterrestrials, sort of their man. I was the vice president of an international public relations company based in New York City. With our clients were basically countries and a few scientists. I've done some weird things. I've worked for North Korea. I worked for China. Basically doing waste recycling.
Right. North Korea, what, you've actually been to North Korea?
No, I haven't.
Oh, right. I was to say, it would be very difficult to get in there, I would have thought.
But I was sort of the broker for a plastic to diesel fuel technology. So you take waste plastic, like, bottles, straws, or whatever, all kinds of waste plastic, and you can melt it down, and you can make diesel fuel out of that. And there's a technology that was developed by an American scientist who took up residence in China, and this technology was one of the things that North Korea was looking at to make some oil. Because they're really poor. And they don't like to beg for oil from China, so they want to make their own. So the idea was to create a port in North Korea to receive plastic from all over the world in ships and bring it to a processing plant at the port to pre-process, and then bring that product to the factory where it would be melted, turned into diesel. Now, as far as whatever happened with that, I don't know.
It would have been very welcome, I wouldn't have thought, by the oil companies.
Well, I mean, it was obviously a big idea for North Korea. I mean, they can get oil cheap and get all the oil they want. But I did a lot of business with China, selling our waste, and by the shipload, basically.
Yeah, it just sounds a bit strange, doesn't it, selling our waste? But
yeah. I also did steel, copper and aluminum, but mostly plastic was my thing.
Very interesting. So your books are they? I guess they're available on things like Amazon and other good book suppliers. Are they?
Yeah. You can find them. Just search for it, the title, and you'll find 100 different places to buy it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're easy to get a hold of. Have you got a website or anything else?
Yes, I have very limited website. Let's see, it's called SETIFACTS. SETIFACTS.
Okay.
Probably if you just typed in setifax.com, it might be able to access. Let's see.
Yeah, I'll put links to that on the Paranormal Dimensions page anyway, Tom. So it's that's excellent.
Yeah, Setifax.
Yep.
Setifax.com. I'll give you. It's just a one-page website, but there are several links to some of my articles from there.
Yeah, you've got other articles that you've done, haven't you? There's some magazine articles that have gone out, and you can find them all on there, can you?
Not all of them, but if you search my name, Thomas N. Hackney.
Thomas N.
See
yeah.
Larger number. But yeah, I've done some books. I've done radio interviews. I was on Coast to Coast once, and they had their fill of me.
Oh, that small show, you mean?
Yeah, the small show. That show was like 2 days before the great, what was it, when the world was supposed to come to an end?
Oh, right, yeah, well, that's happened several times, hasn't it? But I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Better luck next time. But, you know, it was like, this was it, December 19th, 2014, something like that. In 2013, I forget. I think it was 13. Really.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 2012 as well, wasn't it?
It was 2012, right?
Yeah.
So December 21, 2012 was supposed to be the Mayan end of the world.
Oh, that's right.
Like
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
And so that was the big, you know, kind of scan that occurred. But Coast to Coast liked my thesis for that, so they booked me for that basic date. But then I kind of put down UFOs, and they cut it short. And they never put it again.
I wonder why.
Well, you know.
Yeah, no, it's we've all been through it.
I'm persona non grata.
Right.
As far as UFO people, you know, big names are concerned.
Yeah. Oh, that's why you're on this show.
That's right.
No, I'm joking. No, it's been great having you on, Tom. It's been very interesting, and thank you for sparing the time and telling us your story. I'll certainly put. I'll certainly put links on the Paranormal Dimensions page for your books and things. And I say, can anyone get in touch with you at all? I mean, would you like me to put your email address down, or?
Sure.
Unless you want to give it out now, as well.
My email address?
Yeah, in case anyone wants to follow up on this.
Okay, TOMKINS1 at CORE.com.
CORE.
Tompkins1.com.
Okay.
Oh, Tompkins1 at core.com.
Right. Okay. I will put that on the page anyway, in case anyone's missed that. But
all right.
Anyway, Tom, it's been fantastic having you on. Thank you for sparing the time once again, and I wish you well in your recent move to Savannah. As you know, I've just moved to Essex in England as well, so we've both been moving around about the same time, I think. I've just been doing up my little studio today. I've just been painting and everything, so I've just finished over the last couple of days. Been having paint everywhere and God knows what else, and now banging nails in here and there, and God knows. But so I've just about completed it now.
You have a nice clean slate.
Yeah. You're the first official show that I've actually recorded in this room, because I've had 3 weeks off. The previous show was actually recorded. Oh no, I beg your pardon. You're the second one. The previous show was done a week or so ago. But yeah, but then it was in its old state at that time. This is the new refurbished one. So. I'll have to put some pictures up. But, anyway, Tom, it's been great again. Thank you very much, and hope to speak to you again soon. You know where to get in touch with me.
I look forward to it.
Cheers, Tom. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye-bye. Thank you. Well, you've been listening to Paranormal Dimensions. I'm David Young. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and on the Paranormal UK Radio Network. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Paranormal Dimensions is as bright and powerful as our celestial star, the sun. And although it's expending thousands of pounds of energy every minute of the day, have no fear. There's plenty left.
Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.